Welcome to Voices. My name is Augustine Ambe, and you are?
Rogers Akenda.
We are in the third year of the revolt of Ambazonia, and in these 3 years, some things have changed, some have stayed the same, and I think, Roger, in this show, what I want us to do is just take a look at what has changed, what has stayed the same, and then in all of those, maybe talk about what we expect in the next few years. And among the things that have stayed the same, I would say the colonizer remains in the territory. He's not out yet. And when we talk of the colonizer, and it's always nice to define this, because I think a lot of people confuse who the colonizer is and who is not. Obviously there's an immediate colonizer who is La République du Cameroon, which sends its forces, and the real colonizer is France, that backs it up and protects it and support it, which is why we are going even to 3 years, because if what was happening in Ambazonia was happening to another country, the international community would have rallied and kicked out Paul Biya. I think and a good example is what, Gaddafi was not owned by anybody. And so when they saw that Gaddafi was a little shaky, they pounced in on him and got rid of him. Another situation is the one in Ivory Coast, where Gbagbo, who was trying to shake off colonization, was in power for only 10 years, ran an election, they condemned the election, and went and rallied the international force to come and kick him out. So Paul Biya remains, after 35 years and counting, 37 years and counting, in La République, because he is doing the job of the French, and the French are protecting him around. And I'm not just saying this from speculation. Le Monde actually published last month that French diplomats have said they have been, holding the international community from getting on the case of Paul Biya. So the colonizer remains, and France remains the exploiter in chief. And what is happening, Roger, is that Paul Biya, and I think this is the real presence to show that nothing has changed. Paul Biya has all these appointed, half-baked agents who go into the territory. None of them is elected. They act like colonial masters, like Weber said.
Does the president of this country know that the governors and the DOs and all the administrators we have sent to West Cameroon are out there behaving exactly like an army of occupation?
And a good example just happened recently with the governor of the Southwest Province.
The 20th May this day, all the chiefs will march with a pancart indicating their village and their population follow behind. If that is not the case, it means those chiefs don't exist. And if you don't exist as a body, as a village, you should not be called village and counted among the village. I said it some 2 or 3 years ago. The chief refused to do it because there were still volunteer chiefs. But today, you know that the voluntariat is finished. Tradition is there, but you are tied to the state with an obligation. And chief, you know now, I don't want to disclose it here, but we understand each other. If you fail to do what I am instructing, you will see 30 days after the consequences of that disobedience.
Let's take that particular situation, because it just happened, and when I looked at it, I'm like, man, these people are not learning anything.
Especially that gentleman, if I will call him a gentleman, they don't learn anything. But the sad part of it is that he was able to speak with that kind of an authority because he knows exactly where he has gotten these chips.
Yes.
If so, they say somebody who know, if I know where you sleep and put your head, I can do or say anything with you.
Yes.
His arrogance and all what he demonstrated in that piece of video that all of us have watched, it's not a surprise because that is how those people are. But the greatest challenge for us, or what was exposed in that arrogance, was that relationship between the chiefs he was referring to and the administration. Don't get me wrong, in their setup, the chiefs are local administrators, and I don't know, did you get some kind of benefits from La Republique and things like that, right?
Well, I think he said that he had ordered the chiefs to do that in the past and they didn't come, but that at that time they were free agents and now they are agents of the state.
Yeah, which means that there is something, and he said he didn't want to discuss it, but didn't know what he was saying.
Yes.
Right? Those are his words. So there is some kind of a backdoor relationship.
Backdoor agreement.
Yes. That has been going on between them and the chiefs. And I don't know what Von Mukete will do now. Maybe we'll see a 100-year-old man parading with his cane and holding a placard and going through the march past for Bilai, whatever his name is. So, and these are the things that we have said all along in this struggle. We have at any single time that you, as a representative of the people, do not stand with the people. When you don't stand with the people and you decide to serve the devil, that is what the devil can do to you.
Yes.
The devil has no shame, and they will come at any time. You remember, we have talked about Mephistopheles selling his soul to the devil.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
This is it. This is a clear textbook example of what we have been saying. So now the chiefs now have to, that day of reckoning has come.
Let me ask you, do you think the chiefs, because they have an agreement, they go, do you think the villagers are going to follow? In fact, are there any villagers to follow now that they've burned all the villages?
That is the question, because he does not even know, he can't even answer that question for himself. You have to also know that these guys, what they are doing is that they are desperate to show that they have some kind of control over the situation. So whether he believes in what he is saying or not, whether he believes that it is going to happen or not, but he has to do something to show his
colonial master.
His colonial master, not his colonial master, his boss, because he's a colonial. He's a
colonial administrator.
Yeah.
Who has a kingpin in Paubia, and I call him kingpin because he has a drug that he takes from the French in order to spread, and that drug is dictatorship, fascism.
Yeah. So he has to be able to do that, either just to prove that he's trying to do something to accomplish something in order to please his masters. So I don't really believe that he believes in anything that he's saying, but the takeaway from it is that humiliation that comes to the chiefs from what he said. That is what I took away from it.
Yes, but another thing that I think what was most what stood out for me was that between 1954 and 1960, the people of Ambazonia elected their officials. They elected, everybody has authority to tell them what to do because they control their government. But this is a government that came in to control the people. You understand? And that is why you see them, disperse villages, murder people carelessly, and there are no consequences because they have a license to kill. And they have that license not from the people, but from external forces. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And that's why he can sit there. And so I looked at the contrast, and I can say that these are people who find themselves in a very difficult position right now, because the whole international, and we will talk more about this, the whole international community is coming down on them, because the way they got away with this in the past was to control information, control borders, shut down everybody, and acted like a communist dictator somewhere. You understand? Mm-hmm. But they have been revealed. The whole world have seen how they operate as though we're in the 17th century. And then instead of managing that situation, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. In the 21st century, the idiot come and sit there and say, all the chiefs are going to make a placard, they're going to come, they're going to march with their villagers behind them, or they will see, isn't it? And all they're doing, they're giving reason why Ambazonia will not take it.
If this is what you show us after 55 years, then those who are saying that we should break Cameroon are right. They are correct. The people of West Cameroon cannot be your slaves.
That's the reason why we revolted, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I mean, it's...
Because the people who are coming... One of the things that you always remember, Pa, is that La République, like Weber have always said, did not... The only contact that La République came in contact with us came from the international community. The British invited the president of La République and say, take over this land, they are expendable, so you can have it. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So international community gave it to them, and now they are telling them. And our complaint right now is that we were not a gift for any international community to give to anybody, and so we will own our people ourselves now. And instead of them proving to the international community that, you know, this gift that you gave to us, we took good care of it, they're acting more like buffoons and making our case for us. Anything else you want to add to that, Pa?
No, I mean, you have just nailed it. There is actually no argument that they can make. You know, it is like you catch somebody, as they say, they catch you with your hand in the pot soup.
Yes.
And there is really no argument that they can make. So the only tool that they have is to be able to bully us, hoping that when they bully us like that governor was doing, they will be able to succumb. So he can come and make all those threats and be vile and arrogant about it, with the hope that somehow maybe some chiefs would succumb to those threats and do what he wants. So that is the only thing they have, because the idea that we have in our mind that we are going to be a free people, free from La République and free from the gimmicks of the international community, it is there, it has come to stay, it has been revived.
No, it's come to stay. I agree with you. But here's another thing I want to say. You know, when you start talking about because what we discuss is the system. Mm-hmm. Because that was just a little. It's a system that comes in and imposes. It thinks that it owns us. Okay. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to transition to Kawala.
And you're going to put up your flag on the institutions of that country. What do you think is going to happen? And you know what they told people? That they were coming. These diasporans. They said we will be in Cameroon on October 1st. They lied to the population and told the population that the UN ships were in Ambas Bay. That's
that's what they named it after. It's a bay off the coast of Limbe.
Of Limbe. They said, no, the UN ships are there. They're there. We're going to support you. So they made these people come out unprotected against a government that they know for sure will shoot its population, because it has done so time and time again in history with no backup.
Some believe that he has been paid, that she has been paid to come and do lobbying work for that regime. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So I want to let Kawala to know that is the regime she's protecting. That is the regime she's in the United States trying to sell. She's trying to sell that 17th century. Let me say another thing. When I watched that man sitting there giving the orders, he became so small. You know what I'm saying? Because basically he I don't know. Even if the French gave you such a poor education because they decide what you learn, somehow you have your native thinking. And that native thinking should tell you that to disrespect your own type, your own person, you are disrespecting yourself. You know what I'm saying? Because you will not remain a governor all your life. Your nephews, your cousins, your uncles, your extended family are not governors. So that is how some other governor is treating them. Somehow it has to come to you that it is not right to do that. Because in our traditional societies, you don't order funds like that. You don't order chiefs. You know what I'm saying? There has to be some respect somewhere. But that's the system that Kawala goes around in the United States lecturing about. I would also say that that's the same system that Frundi remains stuck to. You also heard Frundi's tape, right? Mm-hmm. You heard where they were asking him, when are you going to withdraw our people, our so-called representatives that are sitting in a parliament in a country that is murdering our people. What did Frundi say?
Parliamentarians at work. Without calling for them to come back.
I cannot call them to come back.
Why?
Because if they come back, I will not be able to talk to Bia the way I'm talking. It gives me the forum to talk. The parliamentarians and the senators. Okay, you are talking today, Wiba. Where did Wiba start talking? Is it not in parliament?
Frundi has a self-serving motive for what he does. Mm-hmm. He is a selfish individual who has exploited the plight of our people to his own benefit and that of his family. But there were some people who were condemning what the boys did and the Bui warriors did. But I am one of those who congratulated them for what they did. And this is the reason why I congratulated them. First and foremost, now we know from Frundi's own words, right, mm-hmm. that this is what he wants. Because he stated it categorically. He was not under any duress. Mm-hmm. The boys asked him questions. There was no intimidation. They asked him a simple question. Why are you not calling your SDF parliamentarians to come back? And he said, no, they are serving my purpose. I want to be able to talk to Bia. So everything we said here, all the vuvuzulas that were blowing in La Republique, we said it on this show that it was a charade.
Yes.
It was a game. And
yes.
Frundi confirmed that yesterday. To anybody who had doubted what we were saying, I am sure you saw it yesterday. Because so that taking him in and questioning him revealed exactly who Frundi is and the SDF.
Yes, and there are a few questions. So for how long would Chairman Frundi continue to talk to Bia? How many people do they have to kill before he stops talking to Paul Bia? How many villages?
No, but I don't even know why you're asking those questions.
No, because I'm asking the question because he thinks that he is being effective somehow by talking to Paul Bia. I mean, the SDF has been existing since the 90s, right? Mm-hmm. We're in 2019. Things have gotten worse. So I'm asking and things have gotten even progressively worse. So I'm asking, what is the purpose of that talk that he is talking about? You forgot to mention another thing. He substantiated that need to talk by saying that without the SDF, Wiba would not have spoken at the parliament. But do you know that this party, SDF, did not support Wiba?
No, I told you I was still coming. Because remember, I told you there are a few reasons why I agreed with what happened. Right?
Yes.
So the first one was that it gave us an opportunity to know exactly who Frundi, what his thinking is. Now we can understand that he is serving himself and himself alone. Remember, we said on this show that those vuvuzelas that were blowing was to give Frundi a bargaining chip.
Yes.
An upper hand for him to be able to go to these guys and say, hey, if you guys don't up the package, this is what I can do. So that came out yesterday.
Yes.
And it is because of the actions of these guys that we could see that. The other thing that I congratulated them was that, you know, these guys told Frundi who is in charge.
Yes, that they are in charge.
And they told him before he came that if they decided, even if he brings how many thousand trucks of La Republique soldiers, if they make up their mind that he, Frundi, and the corpse of that guy who was not going to come into Bui, they will not come.
But let me ask you a quick question. Where, you know, there's confusion whether they were kidnapped by made Amber boys or by the real Amber boys.
Well, from the interrogation, you can see that they were Bui warriors.
Okay.
And they told him why they took him. They questioned him, and they let him go. Because it was just...
There was no extortion, there was no brutality on him. Yeah. And the reason I'm emphasizing this is because my understanding is that there are other Amber boys that are created by the Minister of Territorial Administration and put into the territory in order to give a bad name to the Amber boys.
He himself has said that.
Oh, Frundi.
Frundi himself has said that.
Okay.
So it is not us saying. He is there and he knows and he has said that. So what we are saying is that those of you who have disagreed with us when we have taken on the SDF, now you have your pudding. The proof is there in the pudding. You can see it. So he is telling us that he cannot call back his parliamentarians because he wants to be able to talk to Biya.
Mm-hmm.
He is forgetting that those people represent a people, and those people that they represent have said, we don't want you to represent us in that place, right?
Yes.
If you believe, Mr. John Frundi, in the democracy that you claim that you are practicing, the constituents have said, no, you don't represent me, you don't speak for me. So you cannot come and sit and say, well, it confirms, because he doesn't care about the people. He doesn't care about the views of the people. Those parliamentarians are there to serve his interests. And we have described on this show that each of those parliamentarians pays Frundi a certain amount every month from the stipends they get from La Republique. So all of that, it is to serve Frundi's interests and not to serve us. So he can come out and make all kinds of statements and prepare and pretend that about this and about that, how many cows he has lost. But we saw the real Frundi in that interview.
Yeah, it almost sounded that he wanted to stay because it makes him relevant. Mm-hmm. But let me say, you know, the question the Amber boys asked, when are you going to withdraw your troops? There's a reason why he will withdraw your MPs. There's a reason. There's a history. There's a history of withdrawing MPs from a parliament, and it was because it had effect. Mm-hmm. And it's because in 1954, the Ambazonia representatives in the Eastern House of Assembly in Nigeria withdrew, and because they withdrew, it necessitated the formation of an Ambazonian government in Buea.
Yeah, the Southern Cameroon's government.
The Southern Cameroon's government. So that is where these kids were coming from by saying, when are you going to withdraw so that you cut off that umbilical cord that La Republique is trying to hang on to by doing some of what you just described. Mm-hmm. Because to be honest with you, if our MPs, if they are not our MPs, if SDF MPs withdraw from the parliament and the Senate, fake Senate, because that's not a Senate, You know, Pa, these people go on and mimic all these things in order to keep playing this fraudulent game, not only to our people, but to the rest of the world. And I'm saying this because I see the European Union quoting, oh, the parliament, the judiciary. No, it's a one-man country. It's a one-man country, the representative of France, and that representative is Paul Biya. And he has all these other thugs with very fraudulent systems created more to blackmail. They're not systems that work. You cannot go to court and get justice. You cannot go to parliament. Even France itself doesn't have a strong parliament. What about their colony? You know what I'm saying? But the symbolism of SDF withdrawing from there is what these kids are asking for. And Frundi gave a reason why he will not withdraw.
Yeah, and I am glad that you brought that Eastern House of Assembly example, because what those people did at that time. Remember that the British did not want us to go anywhere. They were ready to attach us to Nigeria.
Yes.
We were going to stay in Nigeria. And it is because of the act of those courageous people that we even had a country or a state to talk about.
Yes.
Because the risk was that they could leave from that place and end up nowhere.
Yes.
But they said that was a risk that we were going to take. And remember, we have said on this show that when our people put their mind on something,
they get it.
That is what our forebears did.
Yes.
Living Enugu.
Yes.
And it is going to happen. Nothing is going to stop us. So I'm glad that you brought that example, because it showed courage. There was a threat that we were not even going to exist, because the British were powerful, they were the administering authority, and they could just do whatever they want. But our forebears said, no, we have had enough in this Eastern House of Assembly, and we are going to get out. And they went to Mafe and constituted themselves and got us to where we were before the British. They went back to the United Nations and continued that game and subverted our interest.
Yes, and I'm going to pick up from this statement that you made, that anything that our people put their mind on, they get. So the colonial government of the Southwest, Kawala, Frundi, none of these are going to prevent the people of Ambazonia from having their independence. I was going to say that we should invite the colonial government of the Southwest on our Independence Day march, but I'm thinking, why give him that honor? You know what I'm saying? Because it's going to happen. It's going to happen.
You know, you talked about Kawala, and if you go and watch some of our shows, I have always been, because she passes around for some academician or something like that, you know, but everything that she does, she's lying. Remember after the October 1st massacre.
But before you mention, you know, as you're talking, I'm laughing because you remember after that massacre, you already saw through her, and I was the one here saying, no, let's take her number. I feel ashamed for supporting you, Madam Wala. I feel ashamed. But you continue your story.
Yeah, because you can see you can see these people, and talking about Frundi and talking about Wiba, you can see the quality of work in what people do when they are speaking the truth.
Yes. And what happens to them?
Yes.
What happens to them?
Yes, you pay a price.
You pay a price for telling the truth.
Yes. Frundi can go around and fly and do all of it, and nobody touches him, but Wiba cannot do that. So Ka'ala is a crook. He comes here and she is a crook. Well, maybe we don't even know.
We don't know if it's a she.
The right pronoun to describe her now. But you saw when she came here with Fontem the other time, and the lobbyists who paid them brought them, and I want people to understand this. They went and got a room, one office room in the United States Senate, and staged that lie there to make you people believe that they were addressing somehow some people in the United States Senate.
Is that true?
Yeah, that's what they did.
Oh my God, I didn't even know that.
That was a room that they went and took, and because it was a Senate room with all those logos, like there were a few people in the crowd, and then she was sitting, Fontem was sitting, and their handler was sitting on the other side.
Yes.
And then it was projected to the people as if they were addressing the United States Senate.
No, they will also take that and go to the international community and said this was a testimony in front of the American Senate.
Yes. So
that was fraudulent.
That is what I'm saying, that she's a fraud. She goes to, I don't know, it was Georgetown University, because you have to understand, there are these lobbyists, they are paid to do these things.
Wow.
So they arrange these things with these various institutions or schools or whatever, and they pay her to go there. So she goes there and says that it is those in the diaspora who started this problem and lied to the people.
But do you know, I don't know if these people don't have a memory. The whole world knows.
No,
the whole world knows that it started with lawyers, followed with teachers, all of it peaceful. The diaspora only came in later to support. So what is she talking about?
Well, but that is because it is difficult to tell a lie.
It's very difficult to tell a lie.
So she forgets that there was one of her outings when she was still struggling to run for president, when she was trying to discredit the regime, that she came out and told the truth at that time.
Yes, and I've heard some people play that tape.
Yeah, one of our brothers.
Hopefully we'll find the tape and play for you.
Yeah, put it on our forum here. Say this is, and he labeled it, this is when Kawala spoke the truth.
Yes.
Right? So because it is, as we said, it's difficult to lie, you have to be able to keep up with those lies. And you forget sometime when you tell the truth. And thank God to the social media today, we can go and find it and say, here is it. This is where you are lying. So he came to Georgetown and told this lie. And there is another journalist that I saw something that he tweeted, spreading that lie. So we are going to be out here and holding them accountable and putting that record straight. Because I think even our Chief Justice, he came out too and condemned her for writing that nonsense.
Yes.
When the lawyers went out on the street, Barrister Bobga and the rest, there was no gun. When the teachers joined them, there was no gun. When the consortium was formed, there was no gun. And we went from the consortium until Bala and the others were arrested till we got to September
the 22nd
of 2017. There was still no gun. But our people consistently were shot from helicopter gunships, target shootings, and killed.
And we still did not fight.
There was no response. On October 1st, they came out and they did the same thing. And there was no response. And Kawala came out and lied about the numbers. And we called her out on this show that she was lying. Now she'll come around and tell us that we, our people, started this. And we have said on this show, these people have been killing us from 1961 when we joined these people.
Yes.
Those who were harassed for not paying poll taxes, robbed in the mob, beaten, however, that died from their injuries or whatever. They have been killing us either through torture or deprivation or every other means. And we have never responded.
Yes, and I want to say something else. That what they're doing now, burning homes and murdering people in their homes, have happened many times in the past, not because we rebel. It is just their mode of operation.
Yeah, it happened in Ndu.
I was going to bring that Ndu incident, that they went to Ndu, they burn houses, they trash people's homes, they break down their furniture, kill people at will.
Women, put bottles in their private parties.
Yes,
all of that.
and they ran into bush, have babies in the bushes. And there was no rebellion at the time. So this is so and I'm saying this to the benefit of those people who keep saying there's violence on both sides. That is rubbish. When you say that, it's you display a lack of understanding of who the French are and who their puppets and how their puppets in Africa function in order to have France remain a colonial master right into the 21st century. That is how they do it. They intimidate people, they overreact, they exert mass punishment, and that's how they do it. But the Ambazonian people have given ground until they are right now on the wall, and they have said, we have no choice but to push back. And pushing back on an enemy who has been chasing you and killing you for years is not violence on the other side. Now, Pa, you know, what we're really discussing here is the relationship between governments and their people. Mm-hmm. Some governments think they own their people. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And some governments know that they are owned by their populations. Mm-hmm. And the governments that think they own their people, in the past they used to call them tyrants. Around 1945, when the Nazis came up, and the communists
and
the fascists, that term was modified to become totalitarians. Mm-hmm. Now, I was reading this book that was saying that, you know, that we think of Nazis and totalitarians and tyrants, that they are to kill. It says no, that nobody gets out and says, I'll kill so many people today. Mm-hmm. It says no, these are people who have an idea of what society should be, mm-hmm. and what people in that society should be. And so they go to create society in their own image, in what is in their mind. And in order to accomplish that, and because they think they own the people, they go and say, I will get that perfect society if I eliminate these kinds of people. Mm-hmm. And so in the case of Adolf Hitler, he thinks that by eliminating Jews, he will have the perfect Aryan race. Mm-hmm. In the case of Lenin, he thinks that if I eliminate all the intellectuals, then I'll create that communist man, that perfect communist man.
Oh, the Bolsheviks.
Yes, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I've always said that when the Allied forces went and defeated the fascists in Italy, and they defeated the Nazi Germany, there was another fascist country that was not defeated, and that was France. And it wasn't defeated because they surrendered to the Germans took them over, and then the British, especially Churchill, now had this big thing about protecting Charles de Gaulle and protecting France, because they wanted France to be a bulwark for a future German advance. Mm-hmm. So they tried to build up France and put them at the Security Council, even though Charles de Gaulle was in rebellion against what he called Anglo-Saxons. And so they left this fascist culture remain in France. Charles de Gaulle championed it as a Gaullist, went to Africa and created all these dictators that survive today. And they survive today because, like I've already told him in one of the episodes, America and the British wanted to challenge it, and they started in Dakar, and the French fought back, and America and Britain at the time had to make a choice whether should we go fight the Nazis or should we fight the French in Africa. And they decided that let's go fight the Nazis. After the war, communism was growing in Europe very fast. And as a matter of experience, by then Franklin Roosevelt had died. Mm-hmm. So who took over from Franklin Roosevelt?
Harry Truman.
It was Harry Truman, yes. Mm-hmm. So Truman took over, and when Truman took over, what happened was that as a matter of experience, they decided that they are now going to go fight communism. Mm-hmm. And so they let the French stay in Africa, and they've remained there till today. That is why the French are in Africa. They're there. America knows that. All the countries know that. And so if your Southwest governor has the right thinking and the right education about this, if Paul Biya, most of these people know. I would be, look, Paul Biya is supposed to have been a lawyer, right? He went to law school, or even though all of it was through the French. But you should have some native sense to read some history and know that these are people who came and colonize your people. They are using you to punish your own people, and you think that you can play stomach politics and somehow you will be a great man, be the leader of a country.
You know, why do you think that you should think that way? If you really believe that you should think that way, then what you are saying is that the French have not been successful. These people taught these people, even up to the days of Houphouët-Boigny, that they were Frenchmen.
Also, they think that they're part of they think that they're part of France, and then they come and write your national anthem and say you were savages.
Yeah,
and you sing. Do Frenchmen call themselves savages?
That is what they think. That is what they were taught. You remember these people in the early days. A lot of them. Houphouët-Boigny was a minister in one of the French Vichy governments, right?
Yes.
All of them, the Sédar Senghor and all the other people. They were ministers in France. They were taught to believe, and that is why when you went to a place like Douala, and probably still today, these people are still very proud when they tell you that they are going to Paris, because in their culture, or how they were taught and trained to think, was that they were French.
No, but La République is not France. I mean, say that succeeded in the past, right? From 1960.
But what you are saying is, are you telling me that brainwashing doesn't work? That is brainwashing. That is what it is. They brainwash you to sit like this and deny yourself that you are not who you are. And you have, because they have brainwashed you and transformed you, you have to see yourself now in their image and be able to do their bidding without feeling any guilt about it.
Well, it's amazing, and maybe they are as blind to their colonization as we are clear about our right to our freedom. And so those who talk about dialogue between us, or trying to create some kind of a relationship between us under one colonial flag, are dreaming. Do you agree with me on that?
Yeah, but they absolutely are blind, because remember, that is part of what those cooperation agreements were supposed to do as education is concerned.
I'm going past that part.
Yes.
I'm saying that,
yeah,
and I agree with you that, because the proof is there. I agree with you that brainwashing works.
Yeah.
So if they have been brainwashed that they are slaves to work for the Frenchman and be exploited to the ground like they are, if they believe in that, I'm also saying that we believe in our freedom and in our inalienable rights to a point where there is no meeting point between us. We have that country has existed with us as part of it, mostly because we kept
trying to make it work, and we have reached a point where we've decided that it will never work. And so the international community and those who think that somehow we can come and sit with these people and have a dialogue and somehow live under the same flag are dreaming. Yes, and you can go back to Belay and take that his statements that he made to the chiefs and bring it to substantiate what you are just saying. Those two cultures, these are people coming from these different parts of life or in the world. There is no way where these two cultures can blend. They have tried to assimilate us. They have tried to do every single thing, and it doesn't work. It is like these people hope that someday, when you pour oil on water, someday they would mix.
And let me just continue with the whole thing about totalitarianism. Okay, the reason why they always fail is because they don't understand human nature. You see, human beings are divinely created. Okay, they make some of them tall, they make some short, they make some. They're very diverse. They're very diverse with diverse dreams, and so what you do, and Churchill was very good. Winston Churchill was very good in articulating this. In fact, when I was reading that, I took notes on some of the things that he said. He said freedom within. He wanted that the only way it works is to create freedom with that. That is how countries should work. It should create a freedom within a constitution and freedom with restraint. No man should live beneath the law, no matter how humble that person is born. And you know, when your Belay man talks to the chief, he's talking to them as though he is up there and they are actually the animals. because he's commanding them like dogs.
And he has called them dogs.
And he has called them dogs. Thank you.
Yeah.
So the government should be accountable to the people. The government should be accountable to the people, not the people to the. We've talked about John Locke and his writings about people being free and need no government and only need to give out some of their powers because
government has to protect them.
Because we need to give some of our power so we create another force that can protect us against each other, against bullies, against thieves. You know what I'm saying? Government doesn't know more than we do. They don't have any more. The days of divine rulers are gone. And let me say something about those divine. You know, those divine rulers even felt that they needed to justify their reason for ruling others by claiming that they were sent by God.
Yeah, they're talking to God.
Yes. But this fascists who rule us now, they can't even claim that. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? And so Churchill is very clear about some of those things. And so the question that each government has to ask, or each society has to ask is, are the people going to belong to the government or the government to the people? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
And they would and the reason why totalitarians fail, obviously the communist system failed, Adolf Hitler failed, is because you can lead men, you can lead humans, but you cannot push them. So we've allowed these idiots, these brainwashed idiots, these fascists to lead us for a certain amount of time, but now they were trying to push us to become animals. Because one of the reasons why our parents even tolerated is because we still had our education where they knew that I'll educate my child, send him to Nigeria or to Britain or to America, they go and somehow they always create a relationship there. Remember that we are like the second generation after the generation that took independence. So we are so that could go for maybe one generation but then these idiots thought that they would come and roll over us, and within 10 years, if you read some of what they are, the French consulate in Boya was writing in 1967, they were given how much time they would take to francophonize all of us. Obviously we're not machines, we're not dogs that you can determine what we'll learn and what we'll not learn, or what we want to learn and what we will not want to learn. And so they failed. And so they were now saying, okay, maybe if we impose laws in their courts because all of them need justice, then they'll be forced to learn French in order to get that service. Or if we start educating their children right from the stomach, so that by the time they're born, they're already francophones. And at that point, we said no. And since we said no, it's remained no till today. This is the third year, right? Are they going to end up winning?
No, there's no way. And, I'm glad that you have outlined all of this, and there are so many examples. Because our parents could put up with this nonsense. As you said, they believe that I can educate my children and raise them in this system, and they would stay away from that corrupt system. They always believe that we could live together but as two separate people,
yes,
two separate cultures.
Yes.
But when these people started threatening all these other institutions that they had believed that could be separate from what the games they were playing over there, that is when the people said, no, you are going too far. And whatever you have done, I'm not going to take it anymore.
Let me just add this here. One of the reasons why our people also accepted it is because in Africa, the government doesn't have very much to offer in a daily living. Because basically you get up, you go to your farm, you farm your food, you come back, you go to the market, you sell it, and you take care of your kids, and you educate them, you send them abroad, they go there, and you keep most of them abroad. Because so the government did not have very much to do with the government did not offer its citizens very much. So it's not like our people depended on government services in order to make their lives work. No, our people just worked independently, and it's when these people start intruding into those lives and interrupting and bringing things that are so alien to their thinking that our people decided that this is it. Are you following me on that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Imagine if it was an American government, for example, because the American government, they provide so many services that if the government did not work, then many lives will not work. Back there, the government, if it's not working, is so far away from the people that nobody really cares.
Yeah.
So and I think the reason why we also go into these details is because those who keep dreaming, those who think that somehow we can make these two people live, and I'm saying this because I was reading the European Parliament resolution on Cameroon. They started calling us minorities. Ambazonians have never been a minority. There were two states that came together, so you cannot call one state a minority. Would you say the Netherlands is a minority to France or to Germany because it's a smaller country?
In the European Union.
Or in the European Union, would you say that? So some of these people who are trying to intervene in our system are coming with a colonial mentality.
No, see, I don't even worry about those things, because we have been begging for this, right? In 1993, we went and we begged these people that we wanted to make this thing work. We have been begging that these people should make this thing work, and at every single turn they will kill us. We've said, okay, let us try multipartyism and see if we can bring other political parties and create new laws and change the place. They killed us. We brought in multipartyism.
But they never understood any of that.
They didn't.
You just said it that they have been brainwashed, yes. So they don't know where you're coming from.
Yes, they diluted everything, created 1 million political parties, 100 presidential candidates, and messed up the whole thing. But we kept trying. Up till when we knew now that not only did they want our resources, they wanted our souls.
They wanted our souls, yes. And right now, what they want to do, they think that they can clear our land and then somehow repopulate with their own people. And I don't know what they're thinking. It's crazy. But let's move on and come to our people who have revolted. And this colonial governor is struggling. Everybody, you've heard how people have been laughing at him with his ordering of the chiefs to show up, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is a man who used to walk down the street and go and sit in the bar and drink. Right now, even in that sitting where I can tell you, he was covered a mile away with troops before he could sit there and speak. Because why? Because the Ambazonian people have said, enough is enough. And since the Ambazonian people said enough is enough, the international community has come in.
Mm-hmm.
Now, let's take a look at the different reactions from the international community. Obviously, the French don't like what is happening. They want the system to remain because their goal, they only value Ambazonia for its resources. It's not the people.
Mm-hmm.
So they can sit back and they advise La Republique. Like Professor Carlson Anyangwe said, they have boots on the ground, they have boots in the presidencies. So everything that is happening in Ambazonia is being advised by the French. They go and burn the villages. They're protecting Pobia the same as they protected the genocidaires in Rwanda. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
They go and burn the villages, they murder children, they murder women, they murder them, they take food and burn, kill cows, destroy everything. What they're trying to do there is disperse us from our land. And again, they will fail because again, they keep thinking they own us. No, you can try to kick the people out of their land. They will not go. Or when they go, they will come back. But you will not succeed in that. But what I'm trying to say here, Pa, is that so they've drawn in the international community now. I want us to just take a look at the different reactions with the international community. And I want to open it, unless you have a comment to make, I want to open it with the European Union. So the European Union sent out what they call European Parliament resolutions on Cameroon, and this was published last week. I just want to highlight certain things that they said about our country. Okay, they say whereas Cameroon faces a number of simultaneous political and security challenges, including threats from Boko Haram in its far north region, cross-border threats along its eastern borders with the Central African Republic, and an internal armed separatist rebellion in its Anglophone northwest-southwest region. I want to say something about Boko Haram. I think Boko Haram, the use of Boko Haram to prop up a failed regime, a terrorist regime in La République is really it's not doing a service to the people of that region and of Cameroon. Boko Haram could not be that force that Nigeria, Chad, La République du Cameroon, the US, and France cannot defeat for years. I mean, you know what I'm saying? If Boko Haram is that strong, then Boko Haram should be in the Security Council.
You know, I like what you just said, because if you are look at some of the things that they are doing in that region, right? We saw the execution of those women with children on their back. We've also seen this week the breaking of people's legs and the killing of those people in the name of Boko Haram. We have seen what Boko Haram has been able to do in places like Maiduguri in Nigeria, the kidnapping of children, school children, and all of those things. We have not really seen Boko Haram
do anything
in the northern part of Cameroon.
No.
But they are killing women with children on their back, breaking people's legs, torturing people in the name of Boko Haram. And these people...
And the international community always excuses that, oh, we will work with them because of Boko Haram. No. You are working with the devil, and that devil is killing its own citizens, including Ambazonians, in the name of Boko Haram that really does not exist today. Like I said, if Boko Haram is that powerful, Boko Haram should belong in the Security Council. I think we'll better control them there in the Security Council, since we cannot control them on land. Now, the other one is, whereas presidential elections were held in Cameroon on 7 October 2018, whereas these elections were marked by allegations of fraud and the reporting of irregularities, whereas President Paul Biya has been in power since 1982, whereas the Constitution of Cameroon was amended in 2008 to remove term limits. This is one of the whereas, which, if you remember, right? And this whereas is going on when Paul Biya is the president of Cameroon, or of La République du Cameroon today, because President Paul Biya is not serving his people. He's serving a foreign power, and that foreign power has look what Le Monde reported is that French diplomats have said that they have told the international community to take it easy on Paul Biya. You understand? Gbagbo was in power for 10 years, and he was called clinging to power, and they got rid of him by force of the UN, force of the French, supported by the international community. So you know, the international community can either say, yeah, we can do this because we are protecting our interests. You know what I'm saying? But to be involved in every other person's interest and be inconsistent really makes an international community that should work look ridiculous. Add something to that.
Well, you're only talking about the European Union. You saw the African Union come out.
We're coming to African Union. Let me just finish with the European Union. And here I highlighted this one. He says, whereas tension persists between Cameroon majority Francophone and minority Anglophone communities, whereas Cameroon's northwest and southwest region remains predominantly English-speaking with different education and legal system. You see, this particular whereas was written from the Élysée Palace. Don't you think?
Yes, because they use the word predominantly.
No, they call us minorities.
Yeah.
Look, La République has its minority Anglophones, because there are many citizens from La République du Cameroon now that
we have trained.
That we have trained, and that also moved to the United States and Britain and Canada. You know what I'm saying?
Those are Anglophones.
Those are their Anglophones. We are Ambazonians. You know, for the longest time, they have wanted us to be a minority in their country so that we don't have any rights. But Ambazonians have refused that. So this is a definition which Ambazonians are not fooled about. Are you fooled? Are we a minority?
They want to please themselves.
Whereas in late 2016, the discrimination against and relative neglect of the Anglophone region and the imposition of the French legal system and language in their courts and classroom led to peaceful strikes by teachers and lawyers and to peaceful demonstrations, whereas the violence has escalated since October 2018 and the large-scale operations conducted by the security forces often involve abuses and led to human rights violations, including unlawful killings, rape, violence against women and children, and the destruction. So if they know that all of this is, how much of it do they want to happen before they stop it? This is the third year, right? Mm-hmm. And it's almost like, let's give him a little more chance and see whether he will rape enough or kill enough and then subdue them, and then we come and leave Cameroon the way it is.
Yeah, that is their goal. That is their hope. And that is their plan. That is the plan that they have. Because you see the British just signing oil deals with La République. One of the British ministers was there just last week. There was that French guy in the European Parliament saying that the European Parliament should forget about human rights.
Yes.
And just concentrate on propping up the dictator that is there.
Yes, and let him... one of the things he said that he's still in power because he wants to work on transition, on transition and on balancing ethnic differences or something. Which country, which free country works on you see the French you see the way the French think. They think, okay, this our man is going. Who do we put so that he continues to do the job? Otherwise, what are elections for? Elections are to allow one of the citizens to go out and say, I can help you in this. Here's what I can do. Elect me, and then the people own their government. You see what I talked about? The people not owning their government. The government is owned by the French, and so the people are looking. The French are saying, no, wait. We know this man is old. We know he'll be dying soon. Just wait. Let's find somebody else who will replace him. As if the people of that country cannot elect their own leaders. So all the time you've been educating them, all the education you've given them they've not been learning. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So that's one of the whereases of the European Union. It's embarrassing. Whereas armed separatists have carried out mass kidnapping, including of school children and students, have undertaken targeted killing of police, law enforcement, and local authority officials, have been involved in extortion, have enforced weekly ghost town protests, and have boycotted and torched educational institutions and hospitals, thereby depriving thousands of young people of access to education and the general population of access to health. Has our people ever burned any hospitals?
I don't know where these people get their information, but that is the work of people like Kawala.
This is the work of people like Kawala, who are agents of this. You know, I think there was a report that Kawala's family, that the father was an ambassador. Have you read that report?
I don't know about.
So yeah, she's a person of the system, and talking about that, like you rightly say, people who talk against the government and still live within the government are playing a game that they play with the government. Mm-hmm. You know, they create an opposition in order to make themselves legitimate in a world that cannot tolerate totalitarians anymore. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's the same as they nourish. You know, there was a time when the SDF was really an opposition party. Then they worked things out until in their last convention they all were sitting in the same convention room. SDF and CPDM. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So these voices that come out and pretend to, you know, Kawala they call her an entrepreneur. If she was not part of the system, she would not have a business in the place.
What business does she have?
I don't know, my brother.
She goes around representing herself as doing women empowerment and things like that. I've not seen any women empowerment that she's doing, except the lies that she goes around and spreads. So
all right, so this is the one that I actually highlighted. I highlighted this one. Let me read it. It says, whereas in 2018 and 2019, the government of Cameroon implemented the emergency humanitarian assistance plan for the Northwest and Southwest regions with a view to ensuring multifaceted protection of and assistance to displaced persons as a matter of priority, and the provision of health care to people affected by the crisis. These are people who go into villages. They burn down the whole village. They burn the old and the sick in those houses. They bring down their food. They burn. These are people who care about those people to have a humanitarian program for them. Do you know about that humanitarian program? How well it worked?
Well, you remember the United Nations was trying to design something. So these guys hurriedly went and put something together and then flashed it on social media, went and collected money for a bunch of people and put it in their pockets and said they were doing humanitarian work. And now these people can come and see and put it as one of their whereas in their report. But the fact of the matter is that whatever they brought, we saw those military people in Manfi who brought some rice there very early on in the struggle, and the people rejected it.
No, first of all, they drive the people to go into the bushes. Mm-hmm. Remember, this same governor in the Southwest, the duo in Manfi told the people to leave their villages and be gone, and that if they caught in the vicinity of their villages, they will be considered terrorists. Mm-hmm. Remember? Yeah. And when that went out, then they tried to backtrack. And this colonial governor in the Southwest was one of the people who were trying to backtrack, but that was a plan that they had. It went out and it did not look right, and I think they caught themselves that in the 21st century we shouldn't be doing that. But the blind, the brainwash that you talked, even when it gets a minute of light, it usually goes back out. They went in there, burned the villages. We saw people streaming across into Nigeria. Mm-hmm. Then a month later, they come and put a few bags of rice and palm oil, and they talk about humanity. First of all, where were the people? They were all gone. When they flew into, what's that city again? The Dadi. Mm-hmm. When they went over Dadi, did you see anybody there?
No.
So I mean, this whole thing is so ridiculous that it is just the power of the French. And this power of the French, like the Italian the deputy prime minister said, this power of the French comes from sucking the resources of Africa, empowers itself, and then turns around and play this international game. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so the French, the world are going to allow another genocide to take place in Ambazonia again, conducted by the same French, playing the same game that they played in Rwanda. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So that's your European Parliament's resolution on Cameroon, and that's how they treated Ambazonia in there. So this may apply to La République. They may want Camto release and all that, but this thing has nothing to do with us.
Yeah.
Anything you want to add, Pa?
No, you've touched everything, and we'll keep hoping that our people keep the flame burning so that we can get rid of these people.
So is there anything, from that report, do you think Ambazonians should hope that some salvation will come out of Europe?
No, I think we have said very early on this show that we are on our own. And that is why it is important that whatever we do, we always have to remember that if your parents farm and there is a season that the crops don't yield, they don't bear fruits very well, you have to ration it so that you can get through all to the next planting season, mm-hmm. or the harvest season. Mm-hmm. So those are some of the things that our people need to be doing. We need to understand that we are on our own, and we are going to use the little resources that we get from our people judiciously to be able to get us through this fight with La Republique, because it is not going anywhere. Anybody that is hoping that somehow this thing is going to resolve itself, the international community is looking whether we have the spine to resist and be free, because La Republique has told them that no, we can take care of these people, and they have been waiting for all this time, and they are worried because La Republique has not been able to deliver. You saw what happened at the Security Council, and the discussions there circled around the fact that things are going to get worse. So yes, things are going to get worse.
No, they've gotten worse.
Well, they have not gotten worse, and we have to be prepared. We have to be prepared for that long haul.
The reason I said they've gotten worse is because the Undersecretary for Africa, Thibault, actually did said that that the killing has increased, but on the Ambazonian side. Remember?
Yeah.
Look at, they do. Everybody sees this, and
no,
maybe this. I wanted to give this part as part of my conclusion with Europe, and this is more to our people, just like you were saying, that, you know, like we said before, you can lead the human, but you cannot push them. The same thing, human beings get disgusted with the slaughter of others, you know. Even Hitler himself, even Hitler's troops were disgusted with shooting at the Jews, and that's why they kept looking for different ways of killing people, because they used to send these troops to go and shoot. They used to use bullets to kill, and that used to demoralize the troops. And so they said, okay, let's kill by putting them in trucks and then take the exhaust into the truck. It took long to kill that way, so they built this chamber. So like we've said many times on this show, the tree of liberty is nourished by blood, and Ambazonians have spilled blood. And it is that blood, that human blood, that has been spilled, that's making the international community restless. And as they're getting restless, they want to be part of the solution, because they are part of the problem. Europe is a big part of the problem. America was also a big part of the problem, because remember that there was an American input coming from Lagos at the time. You know, and even though he acknowledged that our people did not want to join the people of La Republique, that they're just using them as a threat, but America did not support what was going. They supported what was going on at the time. So the international community, as our people are losing and blood is spilling, that blood is not going in vain. So they're going to make the first attempt, they'll fail, they'll make a second attempt until they'll get the right attempt. It takes 5 attempts, let them keep coming. But the thing is that we cannot be part of, I'm really holding myself back from using names that are a little more derogatory, but we cannot be a part of a system whose values and beliefs and actions violates everything that we agree that we believe in. And this is not only in our territory. Like I've said, even in Quebec, in civilized Canada, the French element in there has been a problem in that society.
Yeah,
so
and they have tried to separate themselves.
They've tried to separate, but then they always know that
instigated by France.
Yes. So Ambazonians have taken a stand, and like Dr. Carson Anyangwe said, if they kill 4 million, there will be another 4 million to continue to fight. Now let's look at the United States. Now the United States, give me a report. What do you think the United States has done, Pa, since this struggle started?
Well, we saw the ambassador.
Yes.
And we saw the reaction that he got from La Republique when he spoke up.
Yes.
You were in Wisconsin last week.
Yes.
And you heard the congressman. It is from that congressman now that we know that Taghi Thibault went to La Republique under the instigation of some of the Congress people.
Yes.
Because we learned that in his statements.
Yes.
And you heard what he said while he was in La Republique.
Yes.
And what he said when he came out of La Republique.
Yes.
Okay. So, I think recently he said that there are no permanent friends. Right? Governments, they are dealing with what is there now, but there is no.
No, what he said, if I can quote him more precisely, what he said was that the current American policy is to see Cameroon as it is now and emphasize the word current. And what that told us was that more and more they're seeing the light, and that policy may change. That's the way I read it.
Yeah, and we have the obligation to make that policy change, because I have said so many times that we are going to determine what happens to us.
But I don't go to what we. I think you said a statement that we have the responsibility to make that statement change, and the responsibility we have is not to do anything magical. It's not to send false people like Kawala to go telling lies around the world. It's just to tell the truth.
That is it.
The truth is on our side. We just need to tell the truth. We need to tell the truth that when Ambazonia was colonized and the British came and took over our territory, it became under the British. We obeyed what the British wanted to do. When they went to the League of Nations said, no, make that territory an international territory. It's not part of your colony, so don't join it into part of Nigeria. So the British separated us, and we became our own region. And then they kept governing us as part of Eastern Nigeria. And like you said, in 1954, our people rebelled and said, no, the League of Nations say we are an international territory. Why are you making us part of Nigeria? So the British said, okay, you can go to Boya. Our people resigned, so they went to Boya and created Boya. The UN comes in and says, you are now a trust territory, and that you are governed by 76B, and the role of the British as administering authority is to either give you independent or self-government. We said great, right? And we accepted the British. They had their commissioner in Boya, and the UN had our papers, and they were the overseer of what was happening there. Then the British said, okay, we're not going to give you independence. We want you to be part of Nigeria. Carlson Anyangwe argues that how could we have loved Boya, Eastern Nigeria, in 1954, and then 1960 you were making Nigeria be a choice again that we should vote to join.
Yeah, and that is the gimmicks that I talked about earlier today.
Yes.
That they keep trying to play. So when you read this thing from the European Union that they wrote, it is an effort to keep that game going, hoping that somehow we are going to relent. But
or giving them time to drain all the oil and drain all the milk. You will never drain them. So let's come to a solution.
Yeah.
Keep going, please.
And it is not, even if you can drain the whole thing and leave the place bare, we'll take it.
Yes, because what we want is our freedom.
Yeah.
What we want is our freedom. So they said, no, we're not going to give you independence, we're going to give you two options. We say, what are the two options? They said, okay, you either go to Nigeria or you'll be a federation with this. That's what our people voted for in that plebiscite, the two alternatives. You know what I'm saying? We voted, we say, okay, we're going to take it. And so we have obeyed the international community, we have obeyed the French, we have obeyed, and it's ended up with our people being slaughtered by police and governors speaking in foreign languages to us. That is wrong. The international community has an obligation to come and do that. Otherwise, God will not forgive them, because God did not create us to become slaves or tools of anybody else. And you shouldn't be giving us something that you will not have for yourself. Would any country in the world allow, I remember, is it this guy who was making a presentation in Milwaukee, who said that when the French tried to send their French teachers to come into our schools, or send a governor to come into our territory, it's like seeing in America and then your governor comes from Russia, is talking to you in Russia.
That's exactly what it is.
Who wants to accept that? But we tried, my brother. We learned the French to try and see, but they never left us alone. They kept coming and coming and coming. I can tell you that if you tell them that, okay, our children are going to learn French now and you're going to have your judges in a court, they'll find something else and come with.
Yeah.
They'll find something else and come with. So we've obeyed all the laws, and this is where we end. This is where we are. Our villages are burnt. These are villages that our parents built. It's sad. So anything else you want to add on the U.S.?
No.
All right. I want to report on. Now that we're talking on the U.S., yes, like you said, I went to La Crosse, and while the international community is playing games, these people in La Crosse are not playing the same game. When you watch the tape, tell me what you saw on the tape.
Well, it was a show of solidarity. I mean, they handled it as a sister city to Kumbu, but it shows that there are people who are listening to our plight, and they are not ready to accept the status quo as it is. They are going to do something about it.
Yeah.
And the Reverend Sister who put all of that together was able to articulate it very well. So there are more communities. We know there was Lowell in Massachusetts.
Yes.
We were recently in Milwaukee.
Yes.
We went and met the congressman too. So Wisconsin here in the Midwest has been giving us some, and the congressman too came for that La Crosse event.
Yes.
And he spoke candidly. He spoke about his experience with the Holocaust, how he studied the Holocaust, and made it a determination to be able to work to prevent such things happening in the world. And there's another thing that he said about a senator that he interned for. He said the United Nations refused to ratify the treaty against...
Not the U.S.
The U.S., sorry.
And the U.S. Congress or Senate.
The United States Senate refused to ratify that treaty against genocide. And for almost 20 years, this man, every single day, he went to the Senate floor and made a 3-minute speech asking the United States to ratify that treaty. For almost 20 years, he did that. And at the end, he got it.
He succeeded.
That treaty was ratified. And what he said is that is what one person can do, make a difference in the people's lives. That is what it was so uplifting in what he said.
Yes.
And that is what we have been singing on this show. Wherever you are, whatever God has given you as a tool, please, you are going to use it for this revolution.
Yes.
To make a difference in the struggle for our humanity, for our lives, for our soul. So do not misuse what we have. Remember, we've talked about we have a very, very long journey. So be that one person that is making a difference wherever you are.
Yes. As
that congressman said. So we'll be working hard to keep in touch with him, to bring more people. Now we know that it is because of their efforts that Tago was able to go down to La Republique. So we are going to keep those efforts. So while we are out here doing some of the things that we are doing to keep the struggle alive, you on Ground Zero, you are going to continue with the resistance. Everybody doing their own little part. And all of those little parts will come together to form that movement.
Yes, and like Roger said, I think what happened in Lowell, Massachusetts, what is happening in La Crosse and in Milwaukee, I think that's something that we should duplicate. I think we need to start bypassing some of these national governments, because I think they're in some power play or something which blinds them from seeing the truth, or from being or from having the type of empathy that citizens actually have. I think we should all bypass them and start working with the communities where we belong, using what we have, like you just explained, and I think we'll have better results there. I want to come to Nigeria because Nigeria is part of that international community. You know, Nigeria collaborated with La Republique against international law and sent some of the leaders of Ambazonia that were in Nigeria. Now there's a court in Abuja that ruled that was wrong and that those people should be brought back. I was reading a report where Nigeria is now asking La Republique to send those people back. Are you aware of that?
Yeah, I mean, the Abuja High Court, they ruled.
But I think the important thing is that they ruled that Nigeria was wrong.
Yeah, but it's a violation of Nigerian law. I mean, these are countries that have laws, and that is where, when you talk about a court case, not the parade and the charade that they are doing in La Republique, these are Anglo-Saxon countries that have laws that do matter, and the judge can speak to the administration and say, this is where you fail. So that judge ruled and asked that those people need to be brought back. Whether that can be implemented or not, it is something else. But they clearly stated, because there is no repatriation treaty, whatever they call it, between Nigeria and extradition treaty. Yeah. That's what I was looking for, between Nigeria and Cameroon. So there is no way those people should have been sent to Cameroon. And you are talking about these 10 or 12 or the other 37. You have forgotten the other people who were caught from Calabar. Well, and the people who were caught from Calabar, there was a 6-month-old child that was with them. And this child was taken and locked up in cell with the mother. And that child was there for more than 6 months. That tells you the level of inhumanity of these people. Locking a child, a 6-month-old child. So that child is a terrorist.
And you know what, Pa? That child is a terrorist. The people whose homes have been burned and murdered, all of these are really in these are really in the hands. Let me put it this way: the British and the UN are responsible for all these murders and all these treatments, because these people committed no crime. They were just living, doing what they do like human beings, and the harassment, the unstoppable harassment, keeps going on. I'm going to ask you, and I think this is the last group of international that I will not talk about the AU because they've been useless. But I'm going to talk about the diaspora as part of the external reaction to what happened in the territory. Some people like to think that it's the diaspora that caused what is happening in the territory. That's a lie. I think even the European Union's document spells how it happened, and it wasn't the diaspora. So the diaspora also reacted to what happened. I mean, the Ambazonian diaspora also reacted to the rebellion at home, to uprising at home. I'm not going to go through what stages, what has happened between then and now. But recently they were holding all these conferences. There was a conference in Philadelphia, there was a conference in Washington, there was a conference in Berlin. Tell me what you think about all these conferences.
Well, we have always said, we've said it's okay for people to meet. But those conferences, the amount of money that they spend on those things is some of the money that is, like we said, we need to manage our resources very well. They go around and spend all this money. Just think about the hotels, the location, the venues that they rent. You're not even talking about the airfares that people pay and the lodgings and all those other things that they do. So it's a huge amount of money for absolutely nothing. The people in Philadelphia, there are people who describe them as people who wanted to overthrow the IG. So that was sabotaged. Chris Anu came out and said there was a colonel who had flown from Cameroon and missed his flight and got to Minneapolis and hired a taxi to go to Philadelphia.
Let's look at the results. Let's look at the results of the resolutions that came out. Did those address anything?
So, well, maybe ANPC didn't get to where it wanted to do, but they are still doing what they were doing. But Washington D.C., they came. What they did, which somehow supports what you and I have been saying here, and people have criticized us for it. They went. There was Fontaine was there, Bo Herbert was there, Akwanga was there. Who else? Saku was there. John Akuro was there, and they formed what they call the Southern Cameroon Liberation Council or something.
Mm-hmm.
So what was interesting to me, because remember, we have always said that we need a liberation movement. Mm-hmm. So all of a sudden, we were then reverting to what we have been preaching all along, and people have almost crucified us for that.
Mm-hmm.
So besides that, it was just another meeting like the Reboot conference. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you forgot the Reboot conference.
No, I remember that one.
Yeah, there was a Reboot conference. And then there was Berlin.
Yes.
And then I think they went to Berlin and increased the ministries in the IG and dissolved what is ASC and did some other things. And another conference with nothing to show for it. So the reason I am narrating all of these things is so that people should be able to take stock for themselves.
Yes, yes.
Yes, because what we have described on this show is that most of our leaders give an impression that there are things that they are doing for the struggle when they are absolutely doing nothing. And these conferences is part of what I'm talking about.
Okay.
You make all this show, come out, spend all this money, put all these flyers, harass people left and right, and then leave and go back to wherever you came from.
Okay. You know, I've always had a formula that works. Maybe from my own, the voice of my own schooling is telling me how things work. You know what I'm saying? First, I think we need to correct certain terms, because language is important. And when you call people who are living thousands and thousands of miles away from the front line, when you call them frontline leaders, it's stupid.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? The front line of our struggle is back in Ambazonia, and the frontline leaders are the leaders who are fighting this thing on the front line. Not people who have stayed in the West for decades, live in air-conditioned homes and go and get their jobs every day and come back and make their money, and you cannot be calling them frontline leaders. So let's take that term frontline leaders off from activists who live in the West. They may be doing good work, but they're doing good work as activists. And as activists, they can contribute, but they are not frontline leaders. So let's stop lying to ourselves and lying to our people. The second thing I noticed was that all of them came out acting like government again. If you look at all the resolutions, they were acting like, you see, these people are already ruling the country and writing policies on ruling the country when no country has been won. If you look at all the different resolutions they came out with, they were all about secretaries and no, we need to be in a fighting mode like the Amber Boys are and say, how do we support you? And the only two things that the West, that the diaspora can support the fighting on the ground with, one is finances, and two is advice. And I'm going to put advice with some of what you said is happening in these other communities, like in Lowell and you know what I'm saying, mm-hmm. in Milwaukee and other communities that are thinking about contacting their
keep the struggle alive,
or contact the people in the West, like the congressman you talked about, mm-hmm. who can help us. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Who can help us influence their government to act. But we cannot be sitting in America creating governments that are supposed to go create a territory we're not even fighting for. And I can assure them one thing: none of these people will ever rule Ambazonia, because they are very able people who are fighting for Ambazonia, and those people are the people who deserve to rule the country that they live in. We don't live there. People who are in the diaspora don't live there. the people who live there are going to rule them. So otherwise you want to come in and like another dictator or like another France or another UN and you try to impose on the people. That shouldn't happen. The fact that you came from there and keep dumping down on and thinking, it's again thinking that these people are stupid, so I have to sit here and design a government for them. No. I think Professor Anyangwe in the Washington meeting actually said what is and what has always been, that the international community is, once we are ready, or once they are ready, because we're always ready, once they are ready, they'll do what is necessary, and what is necessary is to come and get out the foreign forces in our territory and create on space for us to create our own forces and organize our own societies, and then those who want to have the people of Ambazonia elect them as their government can then go around and campaign, and there will be free and fair elections, and then the people of Ambazonia can select their government. Only the people of Ambazonia can select their government, not a group of people meeting in a conclave or in a conference or anything like that outside their territory. It is one Ambazonia, one vote, and that's how the government of Ambazonia will be selected. If we take this into consideration, we'll stop wasting our resources and actually start supporting the efforts on the ground, because that is where the fight is, and support the frontline leaders so that they can push this struggle and free humanity. Anything else you want to add?
Well, what I know is that sometimes these things are put, because remember, before these things were put in place, there was the talk of war between Chris Anu and Tabeyang about financing, and all the water broke loose and everything was exposed.
Let me. I don't mean to cut you. When you call this is not even registering as part of the struggle.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. That these things that they are doing, all these conferences, is to cover up for some of those messes. That they have created. So they are looking for ways to kind of lie to the people that there is something that they are trying to put together that can work.
But you know what? I think this process has worked itself out, and our people are gone.
Mm-hmm.
So our people, I don't think our people are going to make the same mistake again. So if they're trying to create an opportunity so that the people make the same mistake and give them the money again, I don't think it's going to happen. Would you give your money to these people again? I think the whole concept that we should even give our money to them and call them frontline leaders was totally misconceived. Our front leaders are on the ground. We can have agents here that show up and that show up to help the front leaders, the frontline leaders.
Mm-hmm.
But we cannot be calling activists who are based in the West, who have lived their lives in the West. Their children live in the West, and you call them frontline leaders in a fight that is in a different continent, thousands of miles away. That is misconceived. But I can see why. So you're saying that basically they're trying to cover this, but they don't need to cover it. The people have moved on. I hope they made good use of the money, because it was a lot of money that they collected.
Yeah, you think that people still have consciences. Well, we've been away for a while because other commitments take us away from the show, and we are glad to be back to keep this conversation going with you. And it is important that our restoration forces, that you understand that we have a responsibility to keep this struggle alive, and we have to keep this struggle alive in very many different ways. Part of what we have to do is to protect our people. La Republic comes in and burns down our houses, and they deliberately go after the crops that our parents have harvested and stored in barns to be able to keep them through the months. And they burn those crops, they burn the food, they burn the maize, they burn everything down so that we should have no food. What the restoration forces have to do is to make sure that our people can cultivate crops so that famine should not set in and help undermine our effort to defeat La Republique. Because if we continue to prevent our people from farming and cultivating crops, then there will be no harvest come June, July, August. And there will be no crops, and people will not be able to feed themselves to be able to sustain this fight. So what will start killing us would be the lack of food and not the bullets from La Republique. We would have indirectly helped La Republique to achieve its goal of eliminating us. And I'm addressing this to all the restoration forces, especially the ones in my local government area, Tuba. There are a number of you who have deprived the workers of IROZ and other places that help these farmers with seeds and things like that they should be planting now. You have asked them to leave their work. Everybody has to do their job to be able to support this revolution. Whether you're working for La Republique and taking a salary from La Republique, that salary enables you to be able to support this revolution. And that is what we talked about, everybody doing their part wherever they are, so that we can all join that together into a force to push La Republique out. So in your efforts to ensure that we get rid of La Republique, don't be indirectly enabling them to eliminate us and starve us to death so that they can take our land. I hope that you understand what I am saying and you are going to act accordingly. God bless you, and please do everything to stay alive. Make decisions that will allow you to be able to live, not that we should see you in the pictures in the social media that La Republique has gotten to you. Thank you very much.